All right, welcome to another episode of the Wheelchair Gardener, and today I wanted to chat about something that I think is a really great accessible gardening technique, but also very relevant to anybody that's had trouble with either overwatering or underwatering their plants, and those are Olla spikes, these guys right here. As a beginner gardener, I've definitely had my fair share of plant deaths, either through overwatering, which tends to either rot the roots or prevent oxygen from getting down to them, in which case the plant dies. If you underwater, the plant gets stressed out and it also dies. So one of the keys to being having a green thumb and being a good gardener is watering just the right amount, and the Olla spike is what I'm hoping is the silver bullet, at least for me. So I have some examples here, and first I should say that, you know, this is actually a very ancient technology. As an engineer, I definitely am a big fan of technology, and the Olla, I think this is one of the kind of older versions of it, modeled by the classic Olla that I think they used in North Africa and South America, was used for irrigating fields by basically burying this terracotta pot underground. So all you see is the neck sticking out, and you would just go around and fill up the terracotta pot. And because this is porous, it will actually water will diffuse, and it will diffuse based on how wet or how dry the soil is and how thirsty your plant is. So if your plant is really thirsty, it will dry up the soil and more water will diffuse. If the ground is wet, let's say it just rained, then the water will stay, maybe even permeate from the ground into the Olla, I suppose. But the theory behind it is that it actually is going to provide just the right amount of water to your plant, and at least the websites that I have looked at these claim that you're actually going to save water, and that's definitely something that is concern in California. So here I actually have 3 different Ollas that I bought. This is one from the Olla company. This is their small version of the Olla. This guy is actually a 2-pack for $40, so this is definitely the more expensive one, at least from the set that I bought. This is from Back to the Roots. I got this for $10. They have this at Walmart, at Amazon. I bought it on Amazon, at Target. And then finally, the Olla that I actually bought a ton of. I think I bought at least 35 of these. This is an Olla spike, and this one was $10. This one was 20. This is less than $2, so an order of magnitude cheaper than this one, at least. And I actually think better in some ways. So the way this works is you place this Olla spike in the ground, and you go and fill up your bottle. I also bought these plastic wine bottles. I have read in the reviews that if you use the glass bottles, which are common in their advertising material, it will eventually crack the terracotta, which is not super strong, especially, you know, after watering it day after day after day. So one of the reviewers recommended these plastic bottles. These are actually more expensive than the spikes. These guys were, I think, a 10-pack for something like $25. But I actually realized that I can use my San Pellegrino water, so that's what I started using a lot more. And I have this all over my yard now. And actually, there are 2 ways to use this. So one is for manual watering. And one reason why this is so great for somebody in a wheelchair is I can actually just pick up my bottles, as you can see here, and put them in a little bucket or something on my lap. And instead of having to drag the hose around to all my plants, which is actually quite difficult in a wheelchair, I can just pick up all of my bottles from my Olla spikes and then just fill them up in the hose. And that way I get to, and this is, by the way, the San Pellegrino bottle. I think you can get 24 at Costco for under $20 or $20 or something, $25, so about $1 each. So, you know, cheaper than these wine bottles and a little bit smaller, but that's totally fine. and I'll show you how I actually use those after I fill these up. But all you have to do is I roll up and I just bend over in my wheelchair, and then one at a time I fill these guys up with the hose, which is super easy. A lot easier than dragging a hose all around the yard. Also, you don't have a hose to roll over all the time, which can be a pain. So definitely a really cool way to water your plants. And the other big benefit is you can actually see how much water your plants are drinking. The one drawback of the Olla that you dig into the ground is, you know, you fill it up, but then you don't know how much is in there. With these, you can actually see them above ground. From my experience, they last, actually, depending on the plant, the soil type, and obviously how hot it is. I've seen plants take a entire 750 milliliter bottle of water and drink it up in one day, and other times I've seen, for instance, my strawberries, which are in a slightly different potting mix, they've taken 5 to 6 days to go through one of these wine bottles. So it really actually depends on the plant, the soil type, and essentially how thirsty the soil is. So the thirstier, the faster the water drains. But that's okay. I actually think that there is a certain important aspect of gardening, which is just manually watering some of your plants, because then you actually get to go around your garden and see what's going on. I like to water my tomatoes because they always have suckers that I like to prune off. I employ this single stem technique. We'll see how this goes. By the way, this is my second year of gardening, so definitely take all the advice I give you with a grain of salt. I'm definitely by no means an expert, but I am a scientist by training, or an engineer, and I love running experiments. I've run, I don't know, thousands of experiments while I worked at Google. So definitely one to experiment, and that's maybe one thing that draws me to gardening, is I'm going to try a whole bunch of different techniques. So one is watering manually, as you have just witnessed right here. And the next upgraded version is this Olla that I put together with a San Pellegrino bottle. Basically, I used some silicone to permanently connect the San Pellegrino bottle to the Olla spike. And I also put 1/4-inch irrigation tubing with a 1 gallon per hour emitter at the end. And the way that I'm using that, I can show you right here in my garden bed. Clearly I can't reach some of those Olla spikes in the back of the garden bed, and I did want to have an automated system that I felt would be a little bit more consistent. Here you could see I have Olla spikes, and yeah, see, I could sometimes you can't see from a distance, but you can bump them a little bit and you'll see if the water is moving. Here it seems like these are empty. So one nice thing about this is now I can adjust my irrigation based on how quickly the Olla spikes drain. If I see them empty, that might mean that I'm not watering them enough. If I see them continuously full, especially once I start my next watering, yeah, these are all empty. Oh no, this one has a little bit. So you could see, for instance, here, the sunflowers are, yeah, this sunflower and that sunflower have water. This little tiny cucumber plant also has some water. But if we go to the tomato plants in the front, they're actually empty. And tomatoes are known for drinking a lot or being thirsty plants. So yeah, pretty cool. You get to kind of see what's going on, and instead of just guessing and waiting for your plant to die, which I definitely did the last two seasons, now I get to monitor my Olla watering system and figure out what works, what doesn't. In any case, I'll keep you guys posted. I'll also make another video at exactly how I make this Olla spike. There has been some learnings. For instance, making this hole bigger than a 1/4 inch. I think the very first set I put together, I made this a 1/4 inch, it overfilled it, and these bottles started to just burst at the seams because water couldn't escape from the top. Anyway, I'll make a video of how I make these, but so far these have been really great. And as you could see, as proof, This is the set of tomatoes I've been watering the longest with these Ullas, and they're doing really well. They're doing great. So I think that this system seems to be working. We'll see what happens at the end of the season. Oh, looks like this is starting to dig into this tomato plant. Yeah, see, exactly. You go in, you look at your oh, I filled this up. As you water, you can kind of see these things and make adjustments, right? So that's kind of the benefit of watering your garden manually. So yeah, so these Ulla spikes I think are great. Definitely a great accessibility hack for watering your garden without having to drag a big hose around. And yeah, let me know in the comments if this is something that interests you, and I'll be happy to keep you posted. Thanks.